Hello, everyone. Good morning, or wherever you are in the world. Maybe it's good evening. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from. I'm still having a little coffee here. It's still morning time. Just barely just morning time here where I am. All right. So, of course, as always, if you have questions, please put those in the comments. I'm looking over here for the comments. Love to answer your questions. But I'm going to talk about warming up because when we did the live stream last week, I got this wonderful question. By the way, if there's a little bit different setup from last week, let me know if the audio, if you can hear it, make sure you can hear me. I got this great question last week about warming up and how do you warm up and what do you do to warm up? What kinds of warm-ups do you do? And this is a great question. There's a lot of videos out there about warm-ups. There are volumes of books written about warm-ups, and it's a great topic that so many are interested in. Let me just check here something. I'm so sorry. Just want to make sure that this is in fact coming through for you guys here. Hello. Whoops. Hello. Okay, yep, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. Just double checking. Okay. Anyway, so sorry about that. All right, so warm up. Okay, I think the why to warm up especially when it comes to warm ups is more important than the how, because some people want to start slowly and just play some long scales, or maybe people do some one-fingered scales. Whatever. Why do I always start? I feel like I always start when I warm up or I sit down to play the cello. I warm up with double stops. I think the most important aspect to a good warm up is something that makes you feel connected to the cello. I know that sounds very emotional, or that sounds maybe a little out there. All right, people always want to hear this like concrete thing that you should do during a warm up, and there's nothing that you should or shouldn't do during a warm up. Okay, and somebody pointed this out to me. One of my colleagues in college, she was a DMA student, and we were talking about warm ups, and she was like, you realize we're warming up these very, very tiny muscles. And so physically, the warm-up now I don't want to say it's not necessary. I don't want anybody to get injured out there, because I guess you could possibly, do harm or get injured, especially as the older you get. I don't know. As I'm here in middle age, probably warm-ups will become more important to me to loosen up my muscles here. But I think mostly the warm-up is to remind you, okay, to get back in touch with the cello, to just remind you how to play the cello. And whatever reminds you the fastest. And back to what I was saying, we were talking about the warming up, and she was saying, these tiny, tiny little muscles, and then, we're doing a lot of repetitive action, but they're not super heavy. I mean, think about it. You don't do a warm up before you go to the grocery store. You don't do a warm up before you do lots of tasks where you might lift something or pick something up. I mean, because look, the bow, we're moving it for a long time, but it's not that heavy, right? we're pressing down the strings for a long time. It's a repetitive action, but it's not a super heavy. It doesn't take, it does take some muscle. All right, we do have to be, you do have to work out. You have to exercise. You have to be like an athlete because we do it for so long. But as far as like straining the muscles in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I don't know. I think that's up for debate, maybe. I don't know. Just putting that out there as a thought. I still warm up. I still like to warm up slow. I don't like to sit down and warm up with super fast stuff because the slow stuff helps me get in touch with the instrument. Not everybody's the same way. There are people that just sit down and just start playing fast stuff to warm up. I like the double stops because I sit down and I play the double stops, and double stops just get my hand set, right? I feel like I'm in the position and I'm getting back in touch with how my hand really comes into the fingerboard, how my fingers relate to one another. It just helps me. It helps me feel better about what I'm doing. And so to get back to the why of the warm-up, this getting back in touch with the cello, whatever helps you feel in touch with the instrument, whatever helps you remember how to play from the day before. Because as you're going through your practice session, you want to be connected. You want to feel confident in what you're doing. When we're pulling away from the instrument, or when we're, trepidatious about what we're doing, or we're a little bit timid, these are muscle movements which get us into trouble in performance, right? We want to be making confident motions that are repeatable, all right, that we can execute later in a performance easily, okay? And the warm-up, I feel like, is meant to get us on that path faster, okay? To get us connected sooner, all right? To really feel like, we are making progress and doing what we're supposed to, so that the rest of the practice session goes well, okay? Yeah, there's a physical aspect to it. Of course there is. But I think the psychological, emotional aspect of it, and I wouldn't negate that. I wouldn't say, if it's all emotional and psychological, then why not just skip it? Why not just get over it? No, I don't buy into that. I think it's important. I think it's still important. I think it makes it even more important to do the warm-up at the beginning. Whatever makes you feel like you're back in touch with this thing, okay? So, really, the sky's the limit. Play something slow, play a slow scale, play a slow piece like the Swan. There's a lot of shifting, okay? It's not in a crazy key, it's slow, you have to use lots of bow. It's a great warm-up piece, okay? Or the Arioso. Last week too, a little memory slip there. Okay, all right. So that's a little bit about warm-ups. If you guys have any questions out there, making sure I can see the comments and the questions. Well, since I'm here talking about warm-ups and scales and whatnot, I'll just stay on here a little longer. Since we're talking about getting in touch with the instrument, something that has been on my mind lately that I've been doing more of is doing scales in pairs, okay? And what I mean by that is doing them like C major, and then immediately doing D major, and then maybe doing multiple octaves. this really connects me to the instrument. And it can be actually disorienting at first, but that's what you want from your scale work. Something that really forces you to think about this fingerboard. You know, for some people, it's one-fingered scales. And I wrote about this in a community post, this disruption. Because as you go up, when you do the one-finger scale, as you go up, you are changing the finger pattern, right? Sometimes you're open, sometimes you're closed. The whole steps and half steps keep changing. And that's why the one-fingered scale works. Yes, it helps with your shifting and knowing the whole steps and half steps because your first finger is having to find all these whole steps and half steps. But I think the changing finger pattern is the other thing that makes your left hand just feel so in touch with the fingerboard, this idea of fingerboard geography. Yes, but what really has done it for me lately is to do the scales in pairs, okay? For some people, it's just doing the scales, you know, the thirds and the sixths. And these are just great for intonation anyway. These really help your left hand. With the fingerboard. Because you're playing on two strings at once, the relationship between the fingers. Okay, so for some people, they swear by the double stop scale. Some people swear by the first fingered scales. Some people would swear by doing the scales in different keys, except that I now know that it's different, I think, for everyone. Because of our, individual personalities, our own experience with the cello, different things connect different people to the intonation, to this idea of fingerboard geography. So, when you're warming up as part of getting in touch with the instrument, make sure you're practicing whatever version of scales, all right, if scales are part of your warm-up, and they should be, that you find the one that really clicks for you. And how do you know? How do you know which one clicks for you? It's the one that's the most disorienting, okay? That's the one that really forces you to think about what you are doing, okay? And at first, you're going to, notice a lot of slip-ups, all right? So if you find your fingers going in all sorts of crazy places, that's that disorientation that is actually going to lead later, fixing it is what's going to get you to the next level of playing. Yes? And I would mix it up. It's like, I think one of my favorites here recently is, to do a no open string fingering and do like A, B flat, A. So we would go. And immediately to B flat. And back to A. See? And maybe A flat. I can think about it for a second. And maybe back to A. Oh man, this, hearing these different keys back to back and having to force your finger to play in just a slightly different spot, oh man, it really sets the hand, okay? And it just makes your ears feel so much more aware of what you're doing, at least for me, all right? That's for me. Maybe for you, it's one-fingered scales again. Maybe for you, it's the double stop scales, okay? Or some other, maybe for you, it's arpeggios, okay? All right. If there are no questions, I don't see any questions in the chat here. Just making sure I didn't miss any. All right. Well, thanks for watching out there. If you're catching this on the replay, you can always leave a question in the comment. I'll try to cover it later in another live stream. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.